Classic World of Warcraft is a game filled with a multitude of different players, and the boys down at the Nixxiom Research Center have identified 10 of the most common types. So let's not waste any time. Here's 10 types of classic WoW players. First up, the Casual Andy. You're, well, old. Probably too old to still be playing. You came back to the game for the nostalgia. You work a normal job, and unlike most others on this list, you've probably had intercourse with a human female woman, and probably have children of your own. You don't level up super fast, but you enjoy the journey, and people see you as something of the guild dad. You love helping new people with quests, and you're most likely to be the player that says, "See you tomorrow, everyone," and then never log on again. The Hardcore Steve. You are the polar opposite of the Casual Andy. This game was your life in middle school, and now you've made it your life again. You probably still live with your parents, and if you don't, it may actually be better if you did. You've only ever heard of women on strange internet forums like Reddit, but you are a god at PvP and find raiding boring. You exclusively play an undead rogue, and your downtime is dedicated to killing casual Andys in Redridge. The only grass you touch is on the fields of battle in Warsong Gulch. And despite having hardcore in your name, you actually hate hardcore WoW. And you're the most likely to say a racial slur in the middle of battle. The Raider. The Raider is an offshoot of the Hardcore Steve. Instead of dedicating his life to PvP and power leveling, the Raider focuses solely on that grind. Dungeons and raiding are what you live for. You're a slut, a whore, for big damage and healing numbers. You don't mind losing on loot, because that means you just get to run the raid again. You're competitive, but friendly. That is, unless of course you're the raid leader. Raiding is your life. Raiding isn't about fun or items, it's about cold, mechanical efficiency. If someone in the raid does even 0.00001% less damage than you think they are supposed to do, you will cuss them out, you will degrade them, and you will kick them. God save the soul of the person who accidentally pulls a boss. You are single-handedly responsible for ruining Hardcore WoW's raiding scene. You operate outside of God's vision, and therefore outside of his love. You know what, actually, forget what I said before about the Hardcore Steve. You are definitely the one who's more likely to drop the hard R, for sure. The Noob. You may not exactly be new to World of Warcraft, but when you first log on to Classic, you wonder, where's my free legendary? Despite combat being easier, you cannot figure out why you keep dying to trash mobs.
What do you mean I don't get my mount until I'm level 40?
You constantly complain at how bad the graphics and animations look. Your best friend is a casual Andy who seems to have adopted you as a surrogate son. You'll either quit before level 10 or go all the way to 60, where then you must decide if you'll become a Hardcore Steve or a Raider. The Crafter. You are playing a different game than everyone else. While everyone is trying to level for PvP or raiding, the only drive you have to level up is so you can get further in your professions. You have an alt for every profession in the game. And you love being the go-to guy in your guild for new gear, potions, food, whatever someone needs, you have. You're like a traveling merchant. And you're the second richest player on the server. The Banker. Now, you're quite possibly the rarest kind of player in all of Classic. Much like the Crafter, you don't care for things like levels or gear or even friends. The only thing you care about is gold. Your main is a level 2 character that spends all of its time at the auction house. Buy low, sell high. That's your motto. After all, time is money, friend. You can single-handedly crash the market at any time, but you would never do that, would you? You may sometimes feel the urge to leave the big city and go questing, but that would take too much time away from making that sweet, sweet money. One day, you will leave the server and take with you thousands of gold that will be lost forever. And of course, it's you who is the richest player on the server. The hardcore lover. Not to be confused with the hardcore Steve. But you fucking love hardcore servers. You have leveled up at least 30 different characters, and you have mastered all of the starting zones. Caves scare you in a primal kind of way. You have definitely tried to do a 1 to 60 hitless run. Your friends are worried about you and your mental state. You are definitely a masochist, and you are probably insane. The Explorer. You at one point may have filled any of the earlier categories on the list, but you've grown bored. Now your time is dedicated to simply seeing the map. The whole map. You have learned all the wall hopping and clipping bugs in the game. You're even familiar with the term Nogaholics. You've even seen all of the forbidden zones that are still locked on the classic map. Mount Hyjal, Old Ironforge, and the Caverns of Time, just to name a few. You've even been to the secluded GM Island. The world is yours! But you're still bored. And finally, the YouTuber/streamer. You can fall into any of the previous categories with one primary difference. You never have to do anything. Everything you have and everything you've done in WoW was handed to you by your army of viewers. Every time you log on, there is an army of parasocial autists waiting to help you or hinder you. Your hairline is receding, but the rubbish in your room is increasing. Soon enough, it will block out the sun. And that's about it for this video. That was 10 types of classic WoW players. Have you noticed any other types of classic players in your travels? Why don't you go ahead and tell us about them in the comments below? And until next time, take it easy.